Hello, welcome to News Centre. With me, Parikshit Luthra. Stone pelting, burnt tyres, train services being disrupted, protests against the centre's new defence recruitment scheme, Agnipath, turned violent across states, including Bihar, Rajasthan, UP, Haryana, Jharkhand. Protesters have raised concerns over losing job security and post-service benefits. If the new scheme came into force, they have demanded the reinstatement of the previous recruitment system. The Agnipath scheme will see around 45,000 to 50,000 soldiers being recruited annually for a 4-year period. Up to 25% of them will be allowed to increase their terms of service as per the scheme. Soldiers will be drawing a salary of 4.76 lakhs in the first year, which will go up to close to 7 lakh in year 4. 30% of their salary will be set aside under a Seva Nidhi program, and the government will contribute an equal amount every month, and it will also accrue interest. At the end of the 4-year period, each soldier will get 11.7 lakhs as a lump sum amount, which shall be exempted from income tax. However, they would not be entitled to pensions or other benefits of a permanent defence job. The move aims to make the strength of permanent defence personnel much leaner, which would subsequently bring down the defence bill. The government allocated 1.2 lakh crore for defence pensions this year. That's 22% of the defence budget for the fiscal. Let me go across to Lieutenant General K.J. Singh, former General Officer Commanding-in-Chief of the Western Command. He joins us now. Lieutenant General Singh, thank you very much for being with us. A lot of anger over this scheme as well. We're seeing protests in Bihar. Now they've spread to UP, Jharkhand, Rajasthan as well. Some valid concerns, do you think, over the Agnipath scheme, especially related to the eligibility criteria, tenure of service and post-service benefits?
Parikshit, thank you for having me on your show. Firstly, I very strongly condemn resorting to violence. It is totally unacceptable, and nobody has a right to take recourse to violence. What these poor candidates don't realize is that for every job that you have to do, and especially in army, you need a police verification. And if you join this kind of a protest with the kind of video photography which is available, you are liable to become and classified as a criminal. You will become a history sheeter. And then who will verify you? So if there are people who have logic and reasoning, I would sincerely appeal to you, don't get into this mode. And you're burning property. And as it is, government is forced to resort to such schemes, firstly to upgrade the thing, and secondly to reduce pension bills. So you're burning national property. So this is to start off with. Now, see what is happening, Parikshit, in my perception. There is also a need to engage with these people. The violence which is taking place is localized to few traditional recruiting centers, like it took place in Nara a few months back on railway recruitment. So these are the places where you have coaching centers, you have these people who facilitate recruitment. Now these people leverage insecurity. And my belief is that there is a need to reach out to these people, do better communication. And in case they have a grievance, redress it. Like I'll tell you what grievance they have. For now, 2 years in COVID, we've not done any recruitment. It's frozen. So there are some people who are getting overage, who are missing the age criteria because there's no recruitment. And some recruitment was in pipeline, which was stopped. So now these people are most affected by this. And these recruitment mafias which are there and agents are there, they are leveraging their fears and they are inciting them into this. I wish the government reaches out to them and tells them that we'll give you a mercy chance or we'll give you an age relaxation, but don't do this kind of thing. So there is a need to reach out to them.
General Singh, I'd like to ask you one more thing. Right, you're saying there's a need to better educate them, make them aware, make sure they don't fall prey to certain vested interests. But at the same time, there are some veterans who believe that there is a need to increase the service period from 4 years to at least 7 years. And rather than inducting only 25% of Agniveers, induct at least 50%. Do you feel there is merit in those arguments?
Parikshit, yes, I also wrote against Agniveer and Agnipath. I had my apprehensions, but once government announces a scheme, then we have to all allow it to have a fair trial. It's an experiment. And I quite agree with you. We used to have a 7 years color service earlier, which was increased to 9 years. So if you train a person for so long, you invest in that person, then it's a good idea to have the tenure extended from 4 to 7, which is a viable period. And as regards increasing it to 50%, the problem is also related to training capacities. How many people can you train in 1 year? So that has to be looked in. This is government has, see, I am one of those guys who wrote against it. So I have my apprehensions, but I'm also a soldier. And I believe that once government has announced a scheme, then we should try, let it run its course, let it have a fair trial, and let it help it also, because it's a question of career of these so-called Agniveers. And see the plight of poor CEOs who have to make this scheme work. So all of
Right.
us, and through your channel,
Okay.
which is a business-oriented channel, I'll request the corporates also to play their part. Please give them the second career. I'll give you a
Okay.
very practical suggestion, Parikshit.
Right.
There is an army
General
ITI.
Singh.
Yeah.
Yeah, General Singh, also, do you feel that the 4-year tenure will somehow impact the fighting spirit, make some risk averse? This is an argument that has been made by a few people. And do you think rather than joining the army for 15 years, getting a pension after that, somehow the lure of the forces may go down with this 4-year program?
It will, but Parikshit, we have so many people vying to get into government jobs. So it will not be, there will be no shortfall of volunteers coming per se. And the culture of armed forces is such, and training is such. See, earlier also, many people prefer to go to police and CAPFs. But once you got into army, the organizational climate, the culture, the training, the tarti, that made you an excellent. So I'm sure that will be applied in this case also. But I do share your concern that there will be questions of commitment and that will have to be redressed.
Right. Also tell us what kind of changes will the Army, Air Force, Navy, the armed forces itself have to undergo? Because when it comes to the training program, that may have to be crunched a little bit. What, according to you, will be some of the changes that will have to be needed when it comes to the training criteria?
Parikshit, it is a concept of just-in-time kind of a training. Like earlier, a recruit who came to armed forces would get trained for 12 to 18 months. Here, it is going to be reduced to 6 months. So there'll be need to use better audiovisual aids, simulation techniques, and compress the curriculum so that you can, and cut it down also to a certain extent, and do something here, and then bring these people for 4 years, and those whom you retain, you give them additional packages, and you retain them based on that domain competence building. But Parikshit, I want to take up one issue through, because you are a business-oriented channel. We have an ITI in Ambala. And through your channel, I want to appeal to corporate heads, do visit that ITI. They run very good programs for 1.5 years, 2 years, which are approved as ITI programs. So I would request corporates to go and take ownership of it and give a short placement to those people. Because if we have to make this scheme succeed, a very large input has to come from corporates, and it has to come from, they have to be sent to maybe Central Armed Police Forces, because it is a criminal waste of training and competency that you finally, after 4 or 5 years, the person has been a tank driver, a machine gunner, a missile pilot, and you finally send him as a security guard outside a bank. that'll be criminal based. And I think we'll be failing this generation if
Right.
if corporates and others don't take up this challenge.
Right. This is for personnel below officer ranks. When it comes to deploying and using these Agniveers, how difficult will it be to deploy them, especially when you know that they will be only with you for a 4-year period?
See, Parikshit, out of 4 years, 6 months is training. And a person in those 4 years will also take some leave. So about, if you take 100 days leave in a year, so it really amounts to that person being with you for 2.5 years. I'm intentionally using person because there is a talk that women are also going to come. Navy is talking, and maybe later army
Yes,
as it is.
they have said so.
Yeah. So Parikshit, what will happen is that the person is available to you for 2.5 odd years. So deployment will have to be regulated. You'll have to place mentors on top of them. But it's not as if we've not done it earlier. When I was a commanding officer, I got, because of certain cadre dynamics, I had about 150 people who were called PG students. They had truncated training of about, in Armored Corps tanks where I work, they have 18 months training. These people came with 12 months training. So then I devised my ways. I had my own identification methods. I had my
Right.
motivation. I had my certain incentives built in. And then based on those incentives, people quickly come up. And it's a challenge. It's a challenge for those who have to make this scheme work. But Parikshit, let me tell you one thing. One place where this scheme can really work finally is Indian Army. Because in Indian Army, accountability is 100%. A commanding officer is a tiger. He can do wonders. We've done it in Kargil. We've done in many places.
Okay.
We have reservations.
All right.
But we wish luck to our commanding officers.
All right. So let's see what are the changes, possible changes the government could bring about in the days to come. But for the moment, let's hope the protests die down. Thank you very much, Lieutenant General KJ Singh, for joining us here on News Center on CNBC TV 18. On that note, it's time for a break. But when we return, we get you an exclusive conversation with Director of Sales and Marketing at Hyundai India, Tarun Garg, about the company's latest release, the Venue facelift.